This is Jamie Dyer welcoming you to another edition of the Quo-Cast. And if you'd like to be a guest on a future episode of the podcast, you can email quocast@outlook.com. That's quocast@outlook.com. You can tweet at the Quo-Cast on Twitter, or go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/the Quo-Cast. Check out all previous episodes on our blog, thequocast.wordpress.com. I'm joined today by Nathan from the Quo tribute band Red Sky, based in Ireland. Welcome to the podcast, Nathan. Tell me, how did you get into Status Quo?
I got into Quo a long time ago, actually, through my father, who was a massive Quo fan. So anytime we were in the car, it was kind of a given that it was going to be, it was going to be on. In terms of album wise, I can't remember what he had, because a lot of it was old tapes. People will remember old tapes, the cassettes, and God, I was only about 5 or 6, and I just can't remember exactly, but I remember the likes of Down Down, Whatever You Want, obviously Rockin' All Over the World. They were my big intros into Quo. But that's pretty much it. Seeing them on the TV every time they were on. If we weren't at home to see it live, it was recorded on the VCR. No fancy Sky Plus back then. I'm saying it like it's age. I'm only 29, but that's that's the way it was.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm 32 years old, so I understand where you're coming from there. So in terms of, I mean, obviously you're in a tribute band, and how long's that been going on? I mean, this often fascinates me. What makes somebody sit down and say, I'm going to play Quo's music in a tribute band?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. Like getting into Quo, I also got into playing music through my father, who's been, my dad done his first gig when he was about 13 or 14. So I think it was always kind of obvious that one of his sons, there's only 2 of us, was going to take it up as well. Just happened to be me. I was always more into it than he was. And I got when was it? I got a guitar for, I think it was my 10th or 11th birthday, which also falls 2 days before Christmas. So it was a kind of a joint present. And I played it for about 4 days and threw it under the bed and never even looked at it, as you do. And then a couple of years later, Dad was a one-man band, and he said, look, I need a bass player. Will we get you a bass guitar for Christmas? I says, great. Got the bass guitar, played it for 4 days, threw it under the bed. Didn't even bother with it. And then someone said to me, you do realize you can make money playing music? Right, says I. Grand. Picked up the bass, played it, loved it, started gigging with the father about, I'd say about probably 12 years ago. And obviously there was Quo songs in the set. And I kind of always wanted to do a Quo tribute from that time on. It was always something I really wanted to do, and tried and failed numerous times, just couldn't get the right guys in that had the same kind of passion for Quo that I have. And then when Alan Lancaster died, the guy that owns my local pub texted me. He says, heard Lancaster died. This is, it's shocking. It's terrible. Poor man. And I said, jokingly, yeah, we should do a tribute night in the pub. And thought nothing else of it. Went to the pub that weekend for a pint. Rare Saturday night off. He caught me the minute I walked in the door and says, hey, are we doing this night over Christmas? I says, what night? He said, the Status Quo tribute night. I says, Jimmy, I was only messing with you. All 8 people told you doing it, he said, so you may do it. Right, okay. So I was like scratching my head as what am I going to do? And I remember then myself and my dad and 2 friends of ours recorded a version of Rain during lockdown when you couldn't go anywhere or doing anything. So I said to the 3 guys, look, he wants to do this. It's a one-off thing. Come on, it'll be a bit of crack. So, yeah, perfect. Let's do it. Done the gig on the 19th of December. Christmas just gone. Went really well. Went down better than I thought it would have. sounded great, and people wanted more of it. So we says, right, sure, we'll do a couple more videos. Done a couple more videos, and we said, yeah, okay, look, we can make something out of this. It's only a kind of a part-time thing. Like, I play with a wedding band. My dad kind of has no major interest in gigging anymore, and he's in the band. He's in the band with us, so he does that. He's happy. He likes doing that. The bass player plays with a wedding band too, so he's a bit busy. And the drummer works full time, works a lot of weekends and evening shifts, stuff like that. So we said, look, yeah, come on, we get 5 or 6 gigs a year, maybe 7 gigs a year of it. It'll be a bit of crack. It'll be good. It'll be good for the brain, because I'm not sure about other guys, but playing in the wedding scene is great in Ireland. I love it, but it can get a bit monotonous after a while, going doing the same stuff every night, and it's just nice every now and again to play songs you love.
So what?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. What kind of stuff is that in on the wedding scene?
On the wedding scene, black pudding is what I call it. It's kind of, once again, I'm not sure what way the weddings are done over in the UK, but over in Ireland, it kind of starts off where you have your first dance, which is great. It's usually picked by the couple. 9 times out of 10, they're really good ones. They're lively, they're upbeat, it's nice. And then you're kind of going into your country stuff, like your Nathan Carter, Declan Nerney, Jimmy Buckley, Irish country music. Yeah, it wouldn't be my thing. It's not, but people enjoy it. It works. Kind of, you go into a set of waltzes then, and then you might go into another few jives. Then you kind of start venturing into the kind of the likes of Hurt So Good. You might even stick in Rocking All Over the World. Classics, we say, oldies, floor fillers, that sort of stuff. And then we'd have a tendency to go on and do your likes of your Mr. Brightside, Shut Up and Dance, all that sort of stuff. And then big finish with Thunderstruck, shipping up to Boston. And then the DJ kicks in till about 3 o'clock in the morning.
And so playing Quo music is mildly different then to playing that.
Yeah,
scene.
just a bit. Just a little bit.
So tell me, how big are Quo in Ireland? Like, what is the following like?
Well, from my own experience, I started seeing Quo back in 2004. And from my memory, they definitely sold out 2 gigs in the Olympia in Dublin, which is about, I think, maybe 1,300 capacity. I know there was a time they done 2 and booked in a 3rd one last minute. I can't remember whether it was that year or not, because I think I was only about 14 or something. It was my first gig was to go to. It was the Riffs tour. It's my first gig to go to anyway. And they sold out then Killarney, Castlebar. They used to do a lot of kind of smaller venues around. And then I seen them in the Point Depot, which was it's actually the 3 Arena now, but it was the old Point in Dublin at the time. I'm not 100% sure of the capacity, but I remember that was sold out as well. So they used to kind of sell out pretty much everywhere they went. Now, I actually went to see them here last Monday in the Olympia as well in Dublin, which was nice. Little first time I seen them, last time I seen them, both in the same place. It was sold out, 1,200 people. They only done the 1 gig, and they done Belfast the night before. Like, in terms of popularity, I know a lot of people that say, oh, Status Quo, I like them. And I say, what's your favourite song? And it's Rocking All Over the World. So in terms of diehard fans, yeah, there is a good following. But then they would have an awful lot of, oh, Status Quo. Oh, yeah, okay, let's go see them. We're at nothing else. Let's go. That's the way I look at it anyway.
So what was it like at the latest gig?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. And the best thing for me at the minute is I know Richie Malone quite well. I've been meeting Richie at gigs since, I think the first time I met him was around 2007, in around that in Killarney. I met him at a gig in Killarney, and we always kind of kept in contact. And to see somebody that you know from going to see the band actually playing with the band, it's great. It's fantastic. And even when Francis came out, setlist spoiler, just in case anyone doesn't want to hear it, when they come out and played Get Out of My Head, and he announced this was written by and performed by a young man from Ireland, the Olympia just shook. It was brilliant. The sense of pride in the Olympia that night, that somebody from Ireland is playing with Quo, it was fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. What did you make of it when you first heard? Because obviously you've known him for years, as you say, but what did you make when you first heard that he had got that gig?
Well, I heard Rick was sick. And I was kind of keeping an eye on to see what happened with it, because obviously I'd have a good interest in it. Because when it came to Quo, Rick was my man. Rick was my favourite member of Quo for obvious reasons. Hence why I'm trying to emulate. I'm going to stress trying. I'm trying to emulate what he does with Red Sky. But I was looking on the website one day. I think I was going to buy a T-shirt or something, and I seen that Freddie Edwards was doing whatever gigs it was, but he wasn't able to do a few. And Irish guitar player Richie Malone had stood in. I was like, what? What's going on here? So I tried to ring him, and typically Richie didn't answer the phone. But I was speaking to him a couple of weeks later, and he said, "Yeah," he says, "I'm in for the two. I'm in for the two gigs. Don't know what's going to happen." He said, "But look, come here. I'm in for the two gigs, so I'm happy." I said, "Jesus, man, fair play to you. This is great." So straight away, I had a bigger interest in Quo because someone I knew had gotten the job. And then it turns out that Rick wasn't able to finish out that tour, and Richie had been offered the full tour up until Christmas Eve, day before Christmas Eve, the 23rd. And it was brilliant. I said, Jesus, this is great. So we seen it was the last gig. It was Liverpool, 23rd of December. Turned out to be my birthday as well. So I said to the father, I said, look, come on. I said, the flights are cheap. The flights are only 20 quid or something each. So I said, come on, we'll go. I got decent seats with the fan club pre-sale. Yeah, perfect. This and do. Text Richie, going to Liverpool. See you then, 100%. I says, what hotel are you staying in? He says, I think it was Jury's in Liverpool. I says, you're not going to believe it. I'm actually booked into the same hotel. So I never forget it, because we got an early flight out, because it was obviously the following day was Christmas Eve. And I think we were flying at 6:30, so we'd be out of the hotel at 5:30. Me and Richie fell out of the bar at 4:30 in the morning. So needless to say, I don't really remember the flight home. And then got back home, where I live is about an hour from the airport. So we got back home. My missus rang me and says, well, do I need to get you a box of tissues? I says, what do you mean you need a box of tissues? What are you talking about? She says, go and turn on the radio. Went into the kitchen, turned on the local radio here, which is Midlands 103. And they were playing, I think it was Whatever You Want. I was like, right, they're playing Quo on the radio. Why would I need tissues? And she said, just keep listening. So the radio presenter come on and says, and that was, of course, Status Quo, and very sad news coming that Rick Parfitt is no longer with us. And I was like, what? I says, yeah, I'm going to ring you back there in about 10 minutes. They just couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on here? I was after going from such a high the night before, seeing somebody who I know quite well, and, having the crack with them, doing what we both like to do, talking Quo, the whole job lot, to literally the rug being pulled out from under my feet the next day, hearing that my hero is no longer with us.
That must have been a really difficult 48 hours for you, having gone to such highs and then that crash.
It was, I couldn't even describe it. And I called my dad straight away, and I says, Dad, did you listen to the radio? He says, no, why? What's going on? I says, Rick Parfitt is dead. How would you go away? So I'm telling you. I says, look, we turned on Sky News, then it came up that Rick Parfitt had died. I was like, two of us were baffled. We were speechless, because we just had this giant love of Quo, and it's something that we really enjoy doing together, is going to Quo gigs and dissecting the gig then the next day, but never anything bad. It's always, this was brilliant. Wasn't it brilliant when he did this? Oh, Jesus. Remember Rick came right to the front of the stage, and I think he waved at me, or he winked at me, or he gave me a thumbs up or something. Probably 100 people around me thought the same thing, but I don't know. I was lucky enough to meet the man himself a couple of times as well. And the first time I met him, I couldn't even speak to him. It was proper fangirl stuff. It's like, how are you? That sort of stuff. But no, that was a hard one to take. It was very hard to take.
And now all this time later, 6 years later, you are in a Quo tribute band. And it's obvious from the way you've been talking that you are a big fan. You've been to lots of gigs. Are you? Do you buy a lot of their albums?
I don't really, not anymore. I was at one stage. I used to buy every album. I tried to build up my collection. I'll be honest with you, I use Spotify a lot. I'm listening to Quo every day. I drive for a living, so I'm always in a van on my own. I listen to Quo every single day, and I listen to your podcast as well, which is great.
Thank you.
For kind of like a break, because when I turn on the radio, it's max volume, so the ears tend to get a bit tired, and you can kind of switch off the music, switch on the podcast. You're still kind of getting the same injection of Quo, but not at such a high volume.
So, which albums do you end up going back to more and more, or is it kind of spread out evenly?
A lot of it will be spread out, but I do find myself listening to the Heavy Traffic album a lot. I really, really like the Heavy Traffic album. I was kind of really into Quo when that album came out. It's the earliest one I can remember getting into when it came out first. And I don't know, I just find it like I listen to every single song on it without stopping. It always seems to be the go-to. I really don't know what it is, because other than that, I listen to a lot of live versions of stuff as well. I really love the live versions. And kind of looking at the older albums, then probably Hello, Pile Driver, they'd be ones that I'd be constantly listening to as well. But yeah, in terms of albums, like my favorite Quo albums would probably be, I really like Hello and I really like Heavy Traffic. I probably couldn't pick between the two.
Well, it's nice you've got a pre-85 and a post-85 in there,
Yeah,
which
two different
balances
eras.
it out. I don't know, there's kind of this consensus, I think, that the latter part of Heavy Traffic kind of peters out a little bit. What do you make of that?
I don't know. I just really like the album. I don't look into things like this too much. The way I look at it, I either like the song or I don't. Like, there is other guys out there who would be, looking at everything through a fine-tooth comb and saying, I would have done this, I would have done that. I'm not one of those people. I listen to the album, I listen to the song. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. There's very few songs I don't like. I wasn't overly gone on the acoustic album. Didn't do it for me, really. I couldn't see where they were getting the whole stripped bare, yet there was an accordion in the string section. To me, that's not stripped bare. I can't remember who it was. You had a guest on here a while back. I think it was a chap living up the north of Ireland, and he was saying, why didn't they have Rossi and Parfitt, two acoustic guitars? That's it, nothing else. And I thought I was the only one that thought that would have been a good idea. I said it to my dad years ago. I said, I reckon this would be really good. And obviously, when I heard same thing as that other guy, when he heard, acoustic strip bare, yes, great, this is what it is. Hang on now. What are they after doing to Rolling Home? It sounds like an Irish country song. And there's actually has been Irish country artists have done covers of songs. There's a guy here not far from me, actually, John Hogan is his name. He's covered 2 or 3 songs off the acoustic album. And then there's various others as well. Rolling Home is... there's a couple of guys who've covered Rolling Home on the Irish country scene at the minute.
And was that before or after Acoustic was released?
That was after Acoustic was released. So they kind of kickstarted it.
There's quite a few songs on both of those albums that have that kind of what you might call Irish country influence. And in some ways, some of Francis Rossi's kind of latter day influences appear to be that, because there are kind of Irish jig type thing. He's a big fan of it.
He does. I think there was a band here. They're actually quite local to me, Foster and Allen. They would have been huge in the day. They're still pretty. They pull a good crowd nowadays as well. But they actually done a cover of Burning Bridges with a guy from Liverpool called Nathan Carter. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Nathan Carter is huge. He's massive here in Ireland. He sold out the Tree Arena, 10,000 seats. He's done that once or twice, and it's kind of bigger places he's doing at the minute. But he done a cover of Burning Bridges with this Foster and Allen crowd, and it was on. I think was Richie and Francis were interviewed on an Australian TV station, and they said, "Oh, here, a couple of Irish folk singers have covered your song. What do you think?" And he said, "Yeah, I have an album belonging to them, actually. I think I bought about 100 years ago." So you can see it. I think Rossi he has Irish connections, I think, doesn't he? Is his mother Irish or something?
I think there probably is somewhere. Did you see him on the I Talk Too Much tour?
No, unfortunately not. He was supposed to do an Irish leg of that tour, and it was actually he was coming to Mullingar, which is only about half an hour, 40 minutes away from where I live. And there was a guy in Mullingar, James. He's a buddy of mine. Had organised for a tribute band to play. I don't know which tribute band it was. He just said he had one organised to play in a pub in Mullingar. It was either before or after Rossi, but he was supposed to do 7 or 8 dates in Ireland. I don't think they were selling too well, so he ended up pulling the whole tour. Like, I looked at it, like Mullingar Arts Centre. I couldn't put a number on it, but it wouldn't be a massive capacity, and I don't even think he had it half sold. So all of a sudden, then he just pulled the whole tour for whatever reason. Could have been ticket sales, could have been anything, but I think COVID probably would have stopped it anyway. I think it was in around that time. I can't really remember now, to be honest. It's been a long 2 years.
Yes, I can concur there. The last couple of years, the whole kind of live scene has changed, which is why I think a lot of people are starting to get back to what they were doing before. And obviously you're with Red Sky. What is the set list? I've spoken to a few tribute bands, and they have a very particular idea as to what era they cover or anything. Are you general or are you specific?
No, we're not specific. It's mostly hits. Most of it is hits. Like we've done that gig in my hometown here just before Christmas, and there wouldn't be a huge Quo following in the area that I know of anyway. I know a couple of guys, but wouldn't be massive. So we said, look, we keep it as hits based as we can. Sunday coming, we're doing it's like a charity gig for Ukraine. There's a musician in Clara here in where I live organising the gig. So he said, look guys, would you mind doing a few tunes? So we said, yeah. Charity gig, you know, you have your Caroline, whatever you want, down, rocking all over the world. Couple of, obviously, every gig we do, we have Big Fat Mama. That's the one we love. We all love playing that one. We've done a video for it here. It's on the Facebook page if anyone wants to check it out. And we have another one then. We're actually doing Quo Day Ireland, which is a small get-together in Portlaoise, it's in the Midlands of Ireland. That's on the 30th of April and the 1st of May. The May Bank Holiday weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And there's going to be, I think on the Saturday night, there's a couple of guys from the north called the Matchstick Men. Very good tribute band. Heard them last Monday. They done the pre-gig party in Fibber McGee's before the Olympia gig. The guys are excellent. They're headlining both nights. There's a local band called Southern Fried. I think they're kind of a standard rock and blues band. They're doing the early gig on the Saturday. And then we're doing the early gig on the Sunday, which is, I think we're doing 7 till 8 on the Sunday. Really looking forward to that one. Colin has been organising it for, I think this is the 12th time he's done it. So probably about 14 years. Obviously he didn't get to do it the last 2 years. So he's about 14, 15 years doing it. Organises a really good gig. He's had really good tribute bands over. I seen Backwater there a couple of years ago. The guys from Scotland that were excellent. And he had, the last time I was there, he had Rhino's Revenge, which was great because Richie had actually come down as well. This was a kind of an unplanned thing. I don't really think anyone knew he was coming. It was not long after Rick's solo album was released. So Richie came down and joined the guys on stage with Rhino's Revenge. And they done a couple of songs off Rick's album, but I remember them doing Lonesome Road, which is my favourite song off that album. It's pure Quo. It's head, bobbing the head. Just words can't describe it. You know what I mean? But no, Quo Day Ireland. It's very good. Quo-Fest. It's brilliant. I really like it. I've gone a few times. If anyone is interested, Quo Day Ireland on Facebook. I think the early bird tickets are going out in the next week or two. It's only a tenner for the weekend if you go early bird, and then it's €10 per night after that. If anyone just wants to go for one night. But it's really good. It's really worth going to. Actually, they have a quiz this year as well. The drummer from the Matchstick Men is organising a quiz. So that should be good fun too. There'll probably be lads killing each other after 10 minutes, but sure. That's what's on.
I love that there are all these kind of little local Quo-related things, because obviously you've got McVention in Scotland. You've got the convention in Minehead. You ever been?
No, and I really wanted. It was a toss-up this year between Minehead or Glasgow, and I really wanted to go to Glasgow. There's a good crowd of guys going. Lads I call I class as friends, Quo friends, and I think someone said to me, Heavy Traffic are they're doing a pre-gig party somewhere before it. So we kind of just said, yeah, look, we'll go for Glasgow and we'll look at Minehead. I think for us to get to Minehead, it's a little bit awkward. I think you have to fly into Brighton or something like that, and it's about an hour on a bus. I'm not a big fan of travel. Once they get off the plane, I want to be there. You know that sort of way. So we said we'd look at it. We look at maybe, I think that's every 2 years, is it?
Yeah, it's every 2 years. Although there was a little bit of a delay, obviously, because of
with the big C,
because of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
People listen to the podcast, obviously can't see, but people watching on YouTube and any other place will notice you've got a tattoo on your arm. Is that a Rick special?
That's a Rick. I got that 2 weeks after he died.
Wow, that's a lovely tribute.
I had to do it. Yeah, the minute he died, I was like, I want to get some sort of Quo-related tattoo, but I don't want to make it too obvious that if people ask me about it, they'll know. You know, that sort of way. So I said, yeah, cool.
I can see the detail is really good on there. How do you go about explaining that? Do you take a picture in and they draw from it?
I got I took a couple of photographs. There's a guy here in Tullamore, which is only a couple of, maybe about 10, 15 minutes away from me. Mr. Tickles is actually his name. He's from Clara, where I live, but his shop is in Tullamore. And I just sent him on a couple of pictures. I said, do you reckon you could do this justice? And he was kind of offended that I had to ask him that question. But he says, yeah, come into me and we'll stencil it up and we'll have a look and see. And he'd done the stencil, put it on my arm. I says, when can you do it? I should throw your arm up there now. I'll do it for you now. So I says, great. So 2 hours later, I had this.
That's a lovely tribute. And obviously you play Rick's parts in Red Sky, right?
I do. And I recently bought myself a Telecaster, which I've been waiting for a long, long time and waiting for the right one to come available. And I have it now, and it's great. Yeah, I do. We try to keep Red Sky as true to Quo as we can. That if it's a Rick song, I'm singing. If it's a Rossi song, my dad sings. Dad does Rossi. There's a couple of instances where it doesn't work out like that. My father's 55, 56 years of age. He's been gigging for a long time. If he goes to a gig, he doesn't believe in changing guitars or changing tunings. Whereas obviously Down Down, Francis Rossi plays the main parts of Down Down, which is in the open G tuning with the capo and the fourth. I have a guitar sitting there with the open G tuning, so he said, here, what? You look after that one. He says, I'll do Rick's parts for that one. So we try to keep it as true to it as we can, and we're very lucky that we have a singing bass player as well. Nigel does there's two songs in the set Nigel does. He sings Roadhouse Blues and he sings Junior's Wailing as well. So like that, there is songs I'd love to be able to do. Like I'd love to be doing Reason for a Living 4,500 times, all that sort of stuff. Backwater, Just Take Me. Just the scene that we're in at the minute for the couple of gigs that we're doing, nobody would know them. So we tried to keep it like the opening of our set is usually Caroline, Something About Your Baby, and The Wanderer. And I can't remember off the top of my head then where we go after that. Whereas I would love to be doing the Junior's Wailing opening and, Backwater, Just Take Me, going into the likes of Oh Baby, April Spring, that sort of stuff. It's just not fair enough. Maybe for Quo-Fest, I haven't got me set done for Quo-Fest yet. I'll have to chat the boys and see where we are. But hopefully for that, then, yeah, we'll be able to knock in some of the old classics.
Is there any room for a little song called Red Sky in the set?
We do, yeah, we do. We do the Proposing medley. Do you remember the medley they done? We kind of do the version from around 2009, 2010, which has I think does it go from Little Lady into Red Sky and into Dear John. We do that medley. So we do. We couldn't call the band Red Sky and not play Red Sky, or at least some of it.
I've been sat here thinking for the last 15 minutes. I bet he doesn't play Red Sky, but you do.
No, we do a version of it. It's a shortened version in a medley, but we have it in there.
Well, that is excellent. When's your next Quo gig? When are you next seeing them?
My next Quo gig. Well, I've just been there this day last week, actually, last Monday, the Olympia. Looking at really probably going to do Glasgow. I have a hotel booked. I just have to try and get the flights at the right price. We're definitely going to do Glasgow then the 26th of November. Might squeeze one in between now and then if herself will let me go. It'll be kind of a on the knees begging, please, please, please. Because I go to them all. Like they used to do tours of Ireland, maybe 5 or 6 gigs in different venues around the place. And if they've done 5 or 6, I definitely go to 4. You know, that sort of way. I try to see them as much as I can. Like I haven't seen any other, I don't have that much interest in any other band other than Quo. So I blame my father. It's his fault. And he comes with me as well, which is great. And the one thing was the reunion gigs in 2013, 2014. When I seen it coming up on Facebook, obviously the first gig, the first tour, there was no Irish gig. So I have a lot of family in Manchester, Oldham, just outside of Manchester, and we go over a lot. So I rang the father and I says, yeah, we may go to Manchester on, I can't remember the exact date. I said, whatever date. All right, he says, why? He said, he just assumed United were playing at home. We were going to go to a United match because that's not as regular as it used to be, but at the time it would have been a regular thing. And he says, no, it says the Frantic Four are back together. Seriously? I says, yeah. I says, here, I'll send you on the link. I sent him on yeah, I have flights booked there now. We're going to the first one. We're going to one of the gigs in Manchester. It's great. I never forget as the curtain dropped and the guys were standing there, I cried. I actually cried. And to make it worse, there was a charity thing going on in Ireland at the time, Shave or Die, and I was taking part in it. So I actually had my hair dyed bright pink. Think the brightest pink you can think of, and that's the colour of my hair. And I was standing in the middle of the Manchester Apollo, bawling my eyes out because these guys are standing here. My hair is pink. Honest to God, I don't know what people would have been thinking about me. But I was, and I was lucky enough to see that tour. I think I done 3 gigs over the 2 tours. Obviously, the last one in Dublin, that was a no-brainer for me. I was 100% gone to that one. Done Manchester as well, then the second tour as well. So that was brilliant because the one thing Dad always had on me was, I seen the Frantic Four, you didn't. I says, yeah, well, you've seen them twice, I seen them 4 times, 3 times. So it was brilliant.
I mean, that's amazing. I was thinking earlier today, I was scrolling through a lot of the groups, and there were people asking about the fact that those gigs were recorded. Most of the ones on the first tour, and then some on the second, including Dublin, which obviously is released on DVD and Blu-ray and stuff. And, you know, I went to Hammersmith second night, I think, and it was, yeah, it just, they blew the roof off the place.
It was just the atmosphere was just like I wasn't the only one crying, but I think everyone standing within 20 feet of me was. You know, it was just so surreal. It was something that everybody wanted to happen, but no one thought it would. You know what I mean?
And then obviously having Alan do the first 3 or 4 songs, you know, doing Junior's Wailing, we heard Backwater, Just Take Me, which as a pair hadn't been played for years. And obviously, Is There a Better Way? I mean, it kind of broke it up, didn't it? It made it very different to what we'd been used to.
It did. And what I found great was it was a lot of the songs that we hadn't heard in so long, or some of the songs that we have, I don't think they've ever played live. But one of my favourite songs was always Blue Eyed Lady. And I never thought I'd hear them play it live. I just really, really loved that song. And then when I started playing it live, I was like, oh, God, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, my God, I can't. This is great. Because like the set list, in fairness, I always loved going to see the current lineup, but I always found after a while I kind of felt they could change the set list a little bit. It's I'm not going to complain, but they could do it just switching it up a bit. And then to go from that to something completely different. that was fantastic. Like, and I think did they bring Backwater into the current lineup for a while?
I want to.
After that,
I mean, they played Backwater back in the mid-90s. Sort of.
Yeah, that was before my time.
In and out the set. Well, it was kind of before mine too. But they played in the mid-90s, and I want to say they brought Blue Eyed Lady in at one point into the modern lineup. They certainly experimented because it had gone down so well, and it was I kind of see it as maybe they were trying to bridge the gap slightly. Like, you really enjoyed this on the Frantic Four, why don't we give you a little piece of this?
Exactly, yeah. And like, I don't know, I it's just Blue Eyed Lady has always been one of my go-to songs, and it's proper Quo. It's just the head bobbing and everything, you know. It's I don't know.
I think the beauty of that set list was that they chose to shy away from the hits. And on that second tour, I unfortunately didn't see it, but I've seen it on video, extending 4,500 times to include what I call Frantic Four elements was possibly the best innovation they could have done into Gotta Go Home.
Yeah.
Was just like, you will never see that again.
No, never. I went to the Dublin gig. Now, unfortunately, my dad couldn't come to the Dublin gig. I can't remember why. He was away or something. And a friend of mine had come who hadn't seen them since, I think, was 84, around 84, 85. And we met two guys that I know quite well from my local town here, Clara. And the guys were like, yeah, Jesus, Nathan, that was brilliant. Because obviously they knew I'd be one of the resident Quo fans. You just look at me and everyone knows. But they were like, yeah, that was great. But like, they never played Rockin' All Over the World. I said, what do you mean? He's like, I came to see Status Quo. Like, why didn't they play Rockin' All Over the World? I said, you're with the wrong band, buddy. I said, this band is for real fans. I says, this is the stuff that we all wanted to hear because we've been listening to the likes of Rockin' All Over the World for so long. I said, I had to explain to him the whole situation, that there was kind of two lineups running together around the same time. And one was hits and one was, you know, obviously your Frantic Four era stuff. And he couldn't understand it. Like, he thought it was a bad gig because they never played Rockin' All Over the World. Whereas I walked out of there like I was walking on a cloud, high as a kite, thinking, oh, I can't believe it. Never going to see this again. No, I wasn't actually going to, I probably wasn't, my problem was I was involved in a local musical society and they were putting on a show the week Quo were finishing up the tour. And it was a kind of what do I do here? I don't know what to do. And again, I made up my mind the tickets had been sold out. And a couple of weeks before the gig, someone rang me. He was in a pub and he says, yeah, I have a guy here stuck for money and he wants more pints. I have 2 tickets here for 40 quid if you want them. Yeah, grand. Give it quick. Now. Don't buy, give it home now before he changes his mind. And I ended up getting 2 seated tickets for that gig. And I was, I hate it's one of the reasons I tend not to go to the UK much anymore, because I hate sitting down at a Quo gig. I have to be standing. I said we got our seats anyway, we're sitting, we're like, sitting. Oh God. Quo were coming up. I said, come on, we go for a smoke and we go to the Jacks, do what we have to do. And we were walking back in and there was nobody watching the standing area. No stewards, no security, no nothing. So I just looked, Pat, the guy that was with me, I says, what are we doing here, Pat? And as I looked at him, he started running. And he was gone straight. He was just gone straight into the standing area. I said, sure, I go too. And I ran in and I looked back and all you could see, the only 2 empty seats in that night were the 2 seats that we were supposed to be sitting in. But no, again, as I don't know, I think an awful lot of people, just when they seen Status Quo, they just presumed Status Quo. People that wouldn't be, I'm not going to say, people that wouldn't be big fans, that wouldn't know what was going on, like they wouldn't understand the importance of the Frantic Four tour. I think it was people that just said, oh, Status Quo, I like them, come on, let's go to that. And then they get there and like, Rockin' All Over the World isn't played, and they're disappointed, not understanding the concept of the tour, if you get me.
Yeah, some really interesting insights there. And I think it is right that actually Quo went completely out of the usual thing. They went off on this fan track catering to fans, and I think every fandom has this where they want them to do a very specific thing, their thing they love. They want them to do the specific thing, and they don't always do it because they have to fill seats. But this was an incident where they filled seats and fulfilled fans. Certainly on that first tour, I can't say for the second, because I feel like maybe it wasn't that the shine had worn off or the excitement had gone. I think they went around Europe, didn't they? It was a bit more.
Yeah, I think they done Germany anyway. And from what I've been told, I don't think it went down too well over there at all. I think the UK gigs were were way better sellers. I think they thought they were going to do a lot better in Germany than they actually did. Did they do Amsterdam with that tour as well?
They may have done.
I can't remember. I can't remember at all now. I remember someone saying to me they'd done Germany, and someone I know had gone to a gig in Germany, and there wasn't that many people there. There wasn't what they thought was going to be there.
I think maybe because a lot of people would have said, well, that 2013 tour, this will never happen again. So everybody booked. Yeah. And then the second year it was like, well, it's happening again.
Yeah, it was kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It was kind of like this, they gave you this is your last chance. This is never going to happen again. This is it. And next it's, hang on now, Asher, we'll do it again and see what happens. That sort of way. I don't know. Look, I wasn't complaining myself. I was just happy to see the Frantic Four. I didn't think I ever would, and I thought it was always something the father was going to have over me, but he doesn't know.
Well, as I always say, when I speak to a fan on this podcast, I'm sure we could talk for hours on this particular subject. But I will let you go. If people want to find out more information about Red Sky, the Irish Status Quo tribute band, they can go to facebook.com/Red Sky Quo Trib. That is on Facebook. I'll leave all the links in the description for that and the events that you mentioned. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the listeners of the Quo-Cast?
No, not really. I think we pretty much covered everything there. Just like that, if you want to go and have a look, we have a couple of videos up on our Facebook page. It's the only social media we have is Facebook, so anything we do band-wise is going to be up on there. Hopefully going to have a couple of gigs around October, November when things are a bit quiet on the wedding scene. October, November is when things kind of quieten down a bit until you hit into Christmas. I believe from my own knowledge that I think we're the only Quo tribute in the Republic of Ireland. You have a couple of guys up north, you have the Matchstick Men, you have Q the Quo. I think there's Paper Planes up there as well. But in terms of the Republic of Ireland, I think we're the only ones. If anyone wants to challenge me on that, let me know. Because that, I'd obviously like to know if there was more, so I could go and see them. Because I just love going to see bands, Quo tributes in general. The big one for us coming up is obviously the one in Portlaoise on the 1st of May. That's one we're really looking forward to. It's kind of the one that when we said we were going to do this, that's the gig I had my sights set on. You know, that sort of way?
Yeah.
Because getting to play Quo for Quo fans. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing the gigs in my local pub. They're great. A couple of drinks, friends are there. People know most of the songs you do. But this is something different. You can kind of get away with a bit more in Portlaoise, you know what I mean? So that's going to be a great weekend if anybody fancies it. And big thanks to Colin O'Hara, who invited us to play this year. Great guy. I've known Colin a while now. He's top class man, so he is.
And obviously with Quo having an Irish representative as a a member of Quo is from your neck of the woods. I mean has that boosted perhaps the awareness of Quo in Ireland?
I think so. Like there's a big Facebook page in Ireland called Guitarist Ireland, and it's there's a couple of thousand members on it or whatever. And as soon as Richie got the job, it broke in Guitarist Ireland. So there was a lot of guys that probably wouldn't have known much about Quo that started looking into them a little bit more. And there was a couple of guys even writing, like, I tell you, if anyone ever says to me, Rick Parfitt, 3-chord trick, if anyone ever says that to me again, I'm going to strangle them. Because one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was sit down and learn Hold Your Back. It's not that there's much in it. It's just trying to get everything right. You know what I mean? Like, so I think an awful lot of guys would have said, okay, this guy, Richie, he's Irish, Status Quo. Oh, right, okay, I'll have a look. So I think they have gained a bit more of a fan base because of Richie in Ireland. And hopefully it continues to grow.
And he started to take on more vocals as well, which is amazing. You mentioned Get Out of My Head earlier.
Yeah, he sings Little Lady as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of pints in me, I'm not going to lie. What I found was, kind of at the start, he was a little bit refined. He was playing his guitar, he was singing his backing vocals, he was doing his job. And that was, trying to think back, that was the Tree Arena. I can't remember exactly when it was. It was the Tree Arena gig anyway. It was his first Dublin gig with the band. And the difference in him then, which he was fantastic that night, to this day last week in the Olympia, he was really going for it. He was brilliant. He was fantastic. He was I firmly believe that no one could have done the job that well. Granted, you could have got some guys from tribute bands who do the Rick Parfitt thing and do it really well, and they would have slotted in there perfectly. Whereas Richie has his own thing. He's not a Rick Parfitt wannabe. He's Richie Malone. He's a really good guitar player. He's a great voice. He's written, I think he wrote 2 songs on the Backbone album, and they're 2 really, really good songs. Like Get Out of My Head, I love it. It's fantastic. I was delighted they played it live because I didn't think they would. I didn't think, like, there was 4 songs off the new album that was played live. I can't remember. I think Heavy Traffic was kind of the last time I can remember them doing something like that. And we'd say, what's the word? Like, on one of their latest albums, we'd say. Like, I think with Heavy Traffic, they done The Oriental, Creeping Up on You, and I can't remember the other one. But this time, they played 4 songs off a new album, and it was just great. It was just, I can't describe what I think, if you get me. But just Get Out of My Head was just rocking. It's a great song. It's a fantastic song.
When Richie did basically the full single version of Mystery Song at Hyde Park a few years ago, I know a lot has been said, and this is quite controversial, a lot has been said about the fact they haven't really acknowledged Rick's passing in a live setting. They don't sort of pay tribute or anything like that. To me, playing that full version of Mystery Song, obviously without the album stuff, it feels like it's an invisible tribute.
I was of the same opinion myself. Granted, I think there probably should be some sort of a gig to commemorate Rick. What I would do personally, I don't know. Like, an awful lot of fans were saying, oh, why don't they get his guitar and leave it on the stage? I'm like, but the band don't own the guitar, so that's not feasible. Like, I'm sure Richard Jr. or Harry or one of the kids has that somewhere, and that's a treasured memory, and that'll never see the light of day again. And rightly so. It's a personal thing. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, they probably could do some sort of a gig for Rick, kind of like something they done for George Harrison when he died. Oh, the Beatles. Didn't they do a big gig in Liverpool? They got loads of guests in, something like that.
Yes.
Something like that, I'd imagine. Yeah, that would be good. That'd be great to see. I'm sure every Quo fan in the world would want to be at that. You could bring in the likes of Brian May and those who have kind of collaborated, kind of people from the Don't Stop album, sort of stuff like that. Something like that would be great. But in terms of, I'm trying not to sound like an arsehole here, to be honest with you, in terms of like making note of it at every single gig they do, I don't think that's feasible. You know what I mean? People are there to enjoy themselves. I know everybody wants Rick to be there, but they kind of go on a bit of a downer and then try to get back up again. I don't think it's doable. But yeah, I really think there should be some sort of commemoration gig for Rick, similar to what was done for the guy from George Harrison. I don't know. Look, you don't know what's going to happen around the corner. there could be something in the making as we speak. Maybe there's not. I don't know. Hopefully there is.
Hopefully, either on record or live. We'll just have to wait and see on that. And I will let you go now. Like I say, we could talk for hours. Thanks.
We could be here all night.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan, for being on the podcast today.
No problem at all, bud. Anytime.
Thank you once again to Nathan from the Irish Quo tribute band Red Sky for joining me on this edition of the Quo-Cast. Now, before I go and end this edition, just a little bit of clearing up, because I fear that at some point I'm going to get some emails correcting me, and you're more than welcome to do that, because maybe there's something I've missed as I've been editing this. But there were references made to Francis Rossi's Irish connection, and I wasn't sure. I've looked it up. His mother was from Northern Ireland. And I must say, actually, most of these interviews are done basically off the top of my head, completely spontaneous. I have hardly any information in front of me. So, we make mistakes from time to time. I wasn't sure at that moment in time. And also the songs played live, Backwater was played a few years ago with Rhino on vocals. And also, in regards to the Heavy Traffic songs played live, they were as follows: All Stand Up, Never Say Never, The Oriental, Creeping Up on You, Heavy Traffic, Solid Gold. And it's not here on setlist.fm, but I want to say that Blues and Rhythm was played at some point. It might have just been on TV, but I'm sure I remember them playing that. That was a lot of songs from that particular album, but they all sounded great live, didn't they? So thank you so much for listening to this edition of the podcast. I will see you once again very soon.